So I'm here in iMovie, and it's a really good piece of software that comes with a Mac, and you can use it quickly to create videos that are pretty professional without too much trouble. There's literally a lot of dragging and dropping. And so the first thing to understand is exactly what is what. So on the here in the top left, you can see that there's some clips that have been added that, those are the clips that are going to be in our video. And then once they're added, you can drag and drop them and crop them and edit them to appear the way you like. You can have videos, and then it says here, 2.6 seconds. You can have images. It has a little camera in the corner. You can have audio files. They're usually green. And those are the basic elements you would have in any video. So then what you would also have is in the top right is a little bit of a preview of how your video is going to look like. It's not, you would get more detail in real life, but it's a thumbnail. And then in the bottom frame, you can see what's in your video. And there's different things that we can have. We can have a soundtrack, that's the bottom level. We can have video clips, that's the middle level. And then we have things such as a title card or a watermark on top of that. So I've already created this, but I'll show you how to adjust it. So one thing that here I have some video clips, and let's say that I decide that I don't want to use this clip anymore. I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to add a new piece of video. So if you had it open on the desktop, you could literally drag it in, but if you need to add a new piece of video, I'm going to go to here, and then I'm going to add it. Just double click, and then you can see that where it is at the bottom. Now you notice this little orange bar here. That's the part of the video that we're using. So I want to find the one that I want to add. I can scroll through just to sort of quickly preview what it's going to look like, and then I can drag it, hold down, put it in where I want it to be. Now, if I wanted to just replace an entire clip, I could drag it right on top of a clip, and it would give me the opportunity of replacing it. The whole thing you'd see this little graphic, and then when I released my mouse, it would give me the chance to replace it. But I'm going to insert it right next to it. So there's where I want it to go, and I'm going to leave it there. So let's say that I wanted to, a couple of things that are good. When you're making a video, you might want to have your own soundtrack. So you can see here in the blue below the video, there's some bars, and that's the sound of the video. So you can, raise and lower the volume of it, or you can totally remove it. And I would like some music playing, so I'm going to click on my video clip. I'm going to go up, click on the little sound icon, and turn the sound off. And now there's no more bars here. So this is just going to be video, and so if I had a voiceover, if I had a soundtrack, it would replace it. So another good part of iTunes is you can quickly do some transitions. So how do I want the one clip to fade into the other? Well, I might not want it to just, crop. I might want it to fade in or dissolve. So I'm going to put my, I'm going to double click on it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to transitions, and I'm going to change it right. I've been using the cross dissolve one, but I'm going to do the wipe right, sort of like Star Wars, and I'm going to double click that, and then how long do you want the transition to take? Do you want it to be 1 second? Do you want it to be a half second? You can double click on this and you can change the length. One thing you might want to consider is if when you're done, if you want it to be consistent, click the apply all button, but I'm going to just click apply here. Now, as you're editing it, you might decide that you don't want the whole clip. So one thing you can do, now if you're having trouble seeing which part of the clip is, there's a little zoom button here, up here in the top, and that can make things bigger and easier to see. So what I can do is, if I want to edit it, is you can just start dragging in a little bit here, but if you want to be more precise, right click, show clip trimmer, and then it allows you to sort of pick a particular starting point, and you can fine tune that, and then when you're done you click close clip trimmer. So, and you edit it the way that you want. And if you wanted to sort of preview how the screen will go, you can run your cursor along and look in the top right, and you can sort of see how our wipe right effect worked. And if you didn't quite like it, you can click on it again, change it up, change the duration so that it works. So that's one thing that we have here is transitions. Now another thing, you might decide you want to change the soundtrack. So I have one here, but basically if you put your your cursor here on this line, you can raise and lower the volume and it'll become just understand, if you see that it's in the red, that's kind of grating and that's a little too loud. So having it a little bit in the yellow tends to be a volume that people will appreciate. Don't overdo it. But let's say I don't want this anymore. I'm going to add a new song. So under audio, if you have imported your songs into iTunes, you can search for it here, and here I've searched. So I have searched for Fight the Power by Public Enemy, and that's in my soundtrack. And so if I want to use that as my soundtrack, you could combine multiple audio clips just like you do video clips, but it might be better to have just one song. I'm going to delete the old one, and I'm just going to hold down with my left mouse button, line it up here. So you might find that it doesn't quite line up exactly where you want on the song, so you might have to preview it again using the play button, and you might choose to start a little bit midway through the song. You might choose to find an one thing you might want to do is that you don't want it to suddenly cut out. So if you can see here, there's this little dot. I can do a little fade out effect, and I can do a little bit of a fade in effect by dragging the dot, and so for about 3.5 seconds it'll slowly fade in. It gets up to full volume and then it slowly fades out, and that can be a good way to sort of smoothly introduce your clips. And now you can see that the new audio is here under our My Media tab. Let's say you hadn't imported your iTunes library, or maybe there was a voiceover. So you need to add a new file. I'll click on the down arrow, new audio, and perhaps it's like a voiceover. You have some comments, so maybe you want to lower the volume of the music so it's more background music. And you're gonna drag your new audio down here. If it's not totally in the right place at the beginning, that's okay. You can adjust it, and And now it'll start exactly from the beginning. Sometimes it's a little sticky, but that's a minor problem. And again, you can play through it to sort of hear what things will sound like. And oh, I need to raise the voiceover so that people can hear the voices a little more clearly. You can go ahead and do that. So for social media, a good length for social media is a minute. That's the Instagram cutoff before it goes to Instagram TV. And another good social media technique is a watermark so that people know that it's your own. So here I have one here at the top, and I'll delete that. And let's say I want to add in a new watermark. It's got to be a picture. So I'm going to take this and I drag it down to the top of my video, and I extend it exactly the way that I want. So as you can see, I want it for the whole video. I could do it for part of a video. This is good so people don't rip your video and claim it as your own. But you can see it's not the right setting. So I want to double click on my watermark and I look at a couple of things. Firstly, this one here, the two little rectangles, I'm going to change that to picture in picture. And that allows it to be like if you wanted a title graphic, a logo, like a production logo, that could go in there. And then here on the little crop logo, I'm going to change it to fit. And it's going to be fit. Oops, I accidentally had deselected the item. So again, I click on the fit. And it lets me drag and drop it and put it the way that I want. And do I want it to fade in after a couple of seconds? Do I want it to be there right away? I can set this to 0 if I want it to be there the whole time. Sometimes these watermarks fade in a little more elegant. It is up to you. And that's some other things that we didn't quite talk about. You might want to do something in slow motion. You decide you really like the highlight that you have, and you decide that the best thing to do is to slow it down. So I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to click here on the little speedometer, and I can slow it down or speed it up. So if I wanted to add some slow motion, how slow do you want it to be? Again, you can preview it and you can see. And then you might want a title. You might want a title like it's your video, who did it. So you click titles. It has some default settings here. Exactly how do you want it to look? You drag that down. The default is that the titles display for 4 seconds at a time, but you can make them longer if you want, or you can have more than one title if you want to. Your title directed by you, so and so, you can do that. And then when you're editing it here in the top right, it's just like MS Word. What font do you want? What color do you want? Do you want it to be in color? Pretty easy and straightforward. And that again is under titles. If you wanted to have it over a different type of a background, a solid color, you could add a background. It'll just like replace, put in a red background. Sometimes for section headings, for example, it just stops the video, gets everyone's attention. You can do that. Well, also what you want to do is sometimes you might want to add a photo. And a photo, it appears as a camera. And for documentaries, you could be doing this for history, and it's an old thing that there isn't video for. And or you might just have a series of photos that you took, and there's a bit more of a dramatic, slow-mo, style of effect. You can use some photos. So I just drag that in here. I'll put it into here, and what I'm going to do is I double click on my photograph, and you could just have a static one. You could just do fit, and you would select the rectangle that you want to display. But I'd like to, I don't know if you know Ken Burns. He's made some famous documentary. His trademark is to slowly zoom in on a photo as someone's talking very, very gradually. So you can do that. You can select Ken Burns, and you can select what the starting zoom will be like and what the ending zoom will be like. Just make sure you double click on the one, and then it kind of does a slow zoom, and it creates motion with an image without doing too much. Uh, so that's something to be aware of. And when you finish up, just make sure it all goes to the end. It all ends at the same time, so you don't have like blank screen while music is playing, or no music playing because you didn't extend it long enough. So drag these out all to the same point. It does a good job of automatically matching up. Turns a little red. I'm gonna stretch this guy out too, and here it's all lined up, and you know that everything ends at the same time. It'll be professionally produced. Give it a once over, play it all the way through if you need to, and then when I go back, I'm going to click in the top left, return projects. When I'm done, I'm going to click on my example. I'm going to click share project. Do I want to save it as a file? Do I want to upload it to YouTube right away? I just go ahead and save it where I want. In the top right, there's a little meter. When the circle gets filled out, it's ready to go, and then you can play it or upload it on YouTube or do whatever it is that you want. So that is how to use iMovie to make a short video.